So, Parshas Vayeshev is on the Chumash on page 198, and I want to deal with two Rambans today. I think if we have a chance, we'll look for a third. The first Ramban has to deal with a dream of Yosef, one of the dreams of Yosef. The second one, I'm not even going to tell you what it is until we do it, just so it's a fantastic Ramban that you can't even imagine what he's going to say until you see it. So it's a sidebar of the Parsha, but it's actually a very important Ramban. So the first part begins on 198 with the story of Yosef and his brothers. There's a lot to talk about. I can't do it all. If we have time on Thursday, maybe we'll talk about which brothers actually hated Yosef, which got along with him. But Yaakov lives in Eretz Canaan. These are the generations of Yaakov. Yosef is a continuation of Yaakov. To some extent, Rashi says, well, the problems that Yaakov had are mirrored in the life of Yosef. Yaakov couldn't get along with his brother. Yosef couldn't get along with his brothers. And Rashi really enumerates a list of a number of similarities between the two. Yosef was shepherding when he was, looks like he's shepherding with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. And Yosef brings an evil report to his father Yaakov. That doesn't help his relationship. Yaakov loves Yosef more than all his sons. He's a Ben Zekunim. I'm not sure what is a Ben Zekunim mean. His son born in his old age, and therefore what? What would the Ben Zekunim mean? Why is it important?
Not expected.
Not expected? Well, he was expected. In fact, he very much wanted a son. Rachel wanted a son.
He wasn't sure he would still have a son.
So forgetting the Ramban says that, Ramban or Sforno says that you would always, a father would always take the youngest son or the younger of the sons to look after him in his old age. In fact, I was told that Sfaradim in Israel, I don't know if it's done, I was told this 20 years ago, when they build a house, they build an extra room for the parents to move in. So when the parents get old, and the youngest of the sons does this, and they build an extra room in their home, in their apartment or their house, so that the parents can move in. It's their responsibility to look after the parents. So Ben Zekunim has a certain zikah, a certain relationship with the father as parents as they get older. There are, by the way,
the older ones are out in the field working.
Possibly, yeah, okay. Where is Yaakov's wives? Are the wives still alive? Rachel is not. What about Leah? Leah is not. Bilhah and Zilpah? Don't know. Looks like they may have passed away already. Ramban conjectures that they did. Okay. We don't know, but I think Ramban says in a different place that Leah has passed away. Ramban points out that we don't even know when Leah passes away. But the Ramban suggests that when by the time Yosef has come back or thereafter, all the other wives have passed away. I think so. Okay? It surely.
The incident was the moving of the bed. She was still alive.
Right at that point.
That's why Reuben was upset.
Correct. That's not this parsha. That's back in the past. When Yaakov goes down to Mitzrayim, it doesn't talk about his wives coming down. At the end of the Yosef story, when they finally come down, there's definitely no mention of any wives of Yaakov, even though it mentions that the sons and their wives come down. So it wouldn't make sense that Yaakov and his wife. So, here we go. This is a chumash. You can use my thing, okay? And Yosef has two dreams, okay? So the first dream is in page 200, verse number 5. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Hope you had a good trip. So Yosef has a dream. He tells his brothers, and they hate him more. What's the dream? In they're gathering sheaves in the field, and there are how many sheaves are there? Well, actually, he and his brothers are there, and his sheaf gets up in the middle, and all the other sheaves are around the sheaf of Yosef, and they bow down to his sheaf. Okay, so in this dream, he and his brothers are actually present. That's why he does not mention it to his father. He seems to talk directly to his brothers. We're there, I'm there, you're there, and we're all gathering sheaves, and we're all setting them up. And
the sheaf is
a bundle of grain.
It's a bundle, it's not one.
Correct, the bundle of grain. When you cut the grain, then you bundle it up. It's one of the malachos of Shabbos is called ma'amer, is bundling. There's kotzer. Right.
So the whole sheep is
right, the sheep is bending over. It's soft. The reason
it's overpassing.
they're all bending over. In other words, they had a certain amount of strength, tensile strength when you bundle them together, but it's still bendable. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're bowing like you do fall Korim on Yom Kippur. It just means they're leaning over, or maybe they are. But the key to the dream is they're sheaves. They're doing something that's unusual. Sheaves don't normally bow. They usually are immobile. They're bowing on their own, or they're in a bowed position, and they're all facing towards the center, which is definitely not what would happen if it were windy. If it would be windy, they'll all be bending over one way, but they're all bent around in a circle around the sheaf in the middle, which is Yosef, which is straight up.
Presumably they are in a basket.
No, they're not in a basket.
It's a sheet. You put it together. You block it and you put it together.
Right, because the bottom usually comes out like this. A sheaf of wheat is you bundle the wheat together. It stands by itself. It stands like a triangle. Like the bottom of the stalk is spread out, and it's the top where it's tied, which is where the wheat kernel is.
Right. In Shira Malus, you say no cereal, no stuff.
Yeah, it's carrying the sheep. You carry a whole sheep.
Where I see it,
So they're not on the ground. They fit in the basket.
But they stand up. They stand up.
you have those,
Right.
you tie them here, and they stand like that.
They stand.
Yeah, it stands like that.
They
Right.
just stand like that's
Right.
the earth, and they stand like that. And of course, they're not going to move unless it's windy.
Unless you pull them, unless you pick them up.
So when you pick them up, you can carry
You
more than one.
pick them.
You carry them like this.
You can carry more. You carry more than one.
Sure.
Well, it depends how strong you
Depends how strong you are. Depends how much you bundle it. You have to bundle. You're bundling the wheat manually, so you've got to be able to bundle it together and then wrap the cord around it to make sure it's bundled.
Right. So the Shira Malus is no cereal, no stuff, but it's something small.
Who's no se'alo mosav?
In Shira Malus.
Yeah.
I see them that high.
Are we carrying the bundles or the animals carrying the bundles?
We are carrying them.
Yes, we're carrying the bundles. We're carrying a bunch of bundles. But it's put in a way that we don't have to carry the individual grains.
Right.
And then what happens, you put them onto the threshing floor, and you have this threshing board. And they used to have the shore, the ox would pull the threshing board around. The threshing board had like spikes sticking out of it. And as it went around, it broke off the stalks, and remained, all what you meant was the kernel. And then you still had to sift it and so forth. But the first part was the gross division between the whole sheaf and between just the kernel at the top. But it was done it was the first way in which it's like saying, what happens with a combine? How does a combine, I don't know, it's the same thing. It bundles it up and it throws it into the tractor. Just mechanized today. Anyways, the key to the first dream is it's clear who the dream is about, because while you got an unusual situation of the bundles bowing, but you have Yosef and the brothers are in the dream. So they themselves are there. You ever see yourself in a dream? Sure you do. So Yosef sees himself as well as with the brothers. He tells the brothers because it deals with he and his brothers in the relationship together. They don't like that, they're upset. And they say to him, are you going to rule over us? Are you going to control us? And they hated him more. Then he has dream number 2, and we're going to talk about dream number 2. And in dream number 2, he does not appear, the brothers do not appear, you see symbols. And we got to figure out what the symbols are. So verse 9 and 10, he tells his brothers, and he says, I had another dream, the sun and the moon, and 11 stars are bowing to me. So who is in the second dream? Yosef. And who's in the center of the circle? Yosef, not the bundles. So this is even more emphatic. And other things the celestial bodies are bowing down to Yosef, who is in the center of this universe, or the center of the solar system. You have the sun. The sun is going around Yosef, which for us sounds unusual, right? The sun, the moon, and the 11 stars are bowing down to me, not to my star. In the first one, the sheaves were bowing down to the sheaf. In the second dream, the celestial bodies are bowing down to Yosef himself. Okay. This dream he tells to his father in verse number 9, and he tells the father exactly what he saw. And the father says to him and says, what is this dream that you had? Is it possible? Are we going to bow down to you? What kind of ridiculous dream is this? So in the end of it, the brothers are jealous and the father watched what's going on.
So mashma, the one mother is still alive.
Yes. possibly. If you assume the moon refers to a mother.
Right.
Okay, that's what you would normally assume. What does Rashi say? Rashi says, does Rashi say it? Rashi doesn't say it here. But the impression is Jacob is the moon. Oh yes, it is right. Rashi says on the third line on the left column, Havo Navo, Halo Imcha Kvar Meita. So Yaakov says to Yosef and his brothers, how could it be that I and your mother are bowing down to you? Your mother's dead. That's what he's saying. He's saying it's a ridiculous dream. Because it seems to imply that what's the dream we're referring to? I, your father, am the sun. Your mother is the moon, because the mother is obviously going to be secondary. Your mother's dead. V'hi lo hayta yodea, v'hu lo yodea, and he didn't know shadvar magim lebil shagidlo keimo, that the moon is really referring to Bilhah, the maid servant of Rachel, who raised Yosef after the death of his mother, who died in childbirth with Binyamin. Okay, so it's his mother or his guardian or his nurse, maybe his the one who raised him. Okay. And then Rashi says that the rabbis in the Medrash there ain't chalom below dvar b'teilim. Even a chalom that has a certain amount of significance, it's a vision of some sort. There's still always going to be something that's ridiculous, and that's what Yaakov was saying. Yaakov netkavein lo tzia davar milei banav shleikano. Yaakov wanted to remove from the brothers that they should not be jealous, to say that it's ridiculous. The same way that your mother can't come because she's dead, so too none of us can come, and the whole dream makes no sense. So that's Rashi's interpretation. Let's take a look at the Ramban's interpretation. So here's Ramban, okay. He's got a Ramban there. Okay, so it's in chapter 37, Pasuk Yud. Okay? Just get a quick drink. Okay, let's go Pasuk Yud. By Saper El Aviv, says Rashi, what did he tell his father? So, do you have the page? Let's see, have the page. 37:10. Good, okay. So he tells his father, but he doesn't tell the father the first one. So it says Ramban, Siper Chalom Hazel Le'aviv V'lo Rishon. He told the father this second dream. He didn't tell the father the first one. Ki hu atzmo makir bepitrono. Because he understood, Yosef understood right away what the interpretation was. Ki Hashemesh Yemoz Le'aviv. Because the sun that's bowing down to him is referring to his father, representing his father, and the understanding that he knew that his father would understand this. He understood his father understands this. V'hu go'arbo, and he chided him. He chastised him for telling this dream, because Yaakov right away understood that the son was referring to himself. And why did he tell his brothers? V'tam ve'alachav pam shenit. And he told his brother the second dream as well. Ki sapero tol le'aviv b'fnei achav. Because he told it to his father in front of the brothers. So he wanted the brothers to understand. And Yaakov to understand the significance of the dream. So he didn't only tell it to the brothers. While he told it to the father, he made sure the brothers heard while he was telling the brother. And Yaakov chided against Yosef, to chastise him, in order to settle down the anger of the brothers. And how do you settle them down? And what Yaakov says, what's this dream that you dreamt? Kamo, it means what's man that you consider him? Klomar, what is this dream? What's this dream that you're telling us? It's the rhetorical question. What is it? It's nothing. So in other words, Yaakov's response to the dream was, what is this dream? Means what kind of nonsense is this dream? It's ridiculous. Otama Garalamar, maybe Yaakov chastised him to say, not that the dream is ridiculous, but what was your mind thinking when you came up with this dream? This is only arrogance and haughtiness and immaturity that will happen in your heart. as it says about dreams, and says in Daniel, Rayanach Hamishkavcha Sliku, that your dreams, your thinking comes out while you're sleeping. And the same thing in Daniel, it says the thoughts happen while I'm in my bed. So they all understood that dreams are a manifestation of what we're thinking about during the day. Sometimes there's some premonition, some Ruach HaKodesh that comes across, but there's always something that's about which you are. So either Yaakov is saying to the brothers and Yosef, what is this dream you're telling us is ridiculous? Or what are you that you're thinking these kinds of things that you would come to think this dream? Okay, let's move on to the Ramban, because that's the key.
I think the other question is, why did you have to tell us the dream? You could have kept it for yourself.
He doesn't say that.
Well, I mean, it's
correct.
That's
correct.
That's the reason I would.
Well, the reason that Yosef is saying this is he wants to prove, right?
It's hurtful
and
for everybody.
You have to assume that Yaakov must have understood that there is a certain truth to the dream. But he's trying to. Right, the dreams are true, but he's trying to settle down the brothers by saying either the dream is ridiculous, or who are you to dream these kinds of dreams? There's an indication about you as much as it is about the validity of the dream. Okay, so Ramban quotes Rashi here at the beginning. Halo imcha kfar meitu, your mother has already passed away. And Yaakov doesn't realize that this refers to Bilhah, who raised Yosef like a mother. Rabboteinu lamdu mikan, and the rabbis in the Masechet Brachot learn from here, shein chalom below dvarim b'teilim, that there's no dream without nonsensical things. And Yaakov really just wanted to remove the thing from the thoughts of the brothers. They shouldn't be jealous. He understood the validity, but he wanted to settle down the situation. He said, same way that it can't be true about your mother because she's dead, so the whole thing is not valid. This is Lashon Rashi. Okay, here's where the Ramban talks about the people died. Well, Lefi Dati, and according to what I believe, says the Ramban, Ki be'et shiorad Yaakov leMitzrayim kvar meta Bilha v'gam Zilpa. When Yaakov went to Mitzrayim already, in the end of the story, so Bilha and Silpa were already passed away. Ki hakatuv omar b'sipur, because the Torah tells us in the story, B'shivim nefesh yardu, and it says there are 70 people, milvad neshei b'nei Yaakov, except for the wives of the sons of Yaakov who are not included in the 70, because the wives of the sons of Yaakov are not his genealogical descendants. They're from the in-laws, the outlaws. And it doesn't say milvad nashav neshei banav. It doesn't say besides his wives and his sons' wives. It just says except his wives' sons. V'im tomar ki babur hiyotam pligal kshim lo etzolomar levad neshei b'nei Yaakov pilaksho. And if you would say, okay, and if you would all want to argue that it doesn't say that because he didn't want to say his sons of his Yaakov and his Pilakshim, so Ramban says, I'll answer to you. It says later on, Hine Katuv Neshei Aviv. It talks about the wives of his father when it refers to the Pilakshim. And also it doesn't seem logical that the moon would refer to a Bilha who is a Pelegish. The Ramban basically says, I don't really think that this is correct to say that the moon is referring to the woman who raised Yosef. A, she's a Pelegish. B, I don't think she's alive anymore. So how could it be that your father and your mother, or Bilha are bowing down when both of them are really gone? So the Ramban rejects the moon as being identified with Bilha. He says Bilha and Zilpa already died. Now we don't know they're dead at this point. We know they're dead when they come to Mitzrayim. Ramban is conjecturing that at this point they're already dead, and more importantly what the Ramban is saying is even if they are alive now, what does the dream say? The dream says there will come a time when the sun and the moon and the 11 stars are going to bow down to Yosef. So it means that it has to be that your mother or your mother's designate will be alive when we come to Mitzrayim. Ramban says if what he believes is all of the wives were dead before they came to Mitzrayim. Larry talked about in last week's parsha. The two Bilhah and Zilpah are gone before they come down because it does not mention that any wives are alive. He says there are 70 souls besides the wives of the sons of Yaakov, but not the wives of Yaakov. So all the wives of Yaakov are dead before they come to Mitzrayim, which means the dream can't come true when they come to Mitzrayim. All the dreams must be coming to fruition. Am I making sense, or did I confuse you a little bit? In other words, for the dream, the whole purpose of telling the dreams here is to make it clear that the dreams will actually happen. It's not about Yosef being only the center, but it actually will come a time when the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars will bow down to him, which means the 11 brothers will bow down to him, Yaakov will bow down to him, the moon person will bow down to him, whoever this is. And if Bilhah dies before they go down to Mitzrayim, because it's when they come down, they don't enumerate the wives of Yaakov. They say 70 souls besides the wives of the sons of Yaakov. It means that all of the wives of Yaakov are gone, including Bilhah. She never gets to bow down to Yosef. Rachel is surely gone. And Bilhah, who Rashi says is what the moon is, will never get to bow to Yosef as the viceroy, because she will be dead before they all come down to Mitzrayim. So therefore, says the Ramban, in line with the fact that these dreams are true, and the reason for telling the dreams is to set up what the prophecy will be. And that's what Yaakov understands. And that's why he doesn't say, why did you tell the dream? Because he knows the dreams have to be told to set up the prophecy. But what will happen is you will not have a wife who will bow of Yaakov who can bow to Yosef, because they all will predecease before they go to Mitzrayim. So who's the moon? So according to Rashi, who's the moon? Bilhah. According to Ramban, can't be Bilhah because she's already dead. She never bows. So who's the moon? Avonyana Chalom. But the interpretation of the dream is as follows: Ki Hashemesh remez liYaakov. The sun is a hint or a symbol of Yaakov. That makes sense. Everybody agrees. V'hayoreach. And the moon, listen to what he writes here. Remez legvat beito v'chol noshim shebahen hayu toldotav. And the moon represents Rachel and all his wives through whom his descendants were actually born. So in other words, it doesn't mean that Rachel and all the wives are going to bow. The moon is going to be the descendants of the moon. In other words, not the moon is going to bow down. It means the wives who've given birth to these children, means all the children, all the sons of Yaakov are the descendants of the moon of the sun, and they're the ones who will bow down. Yirmos ki kol dodosav yishtachavulo. Everyone will bow down to Yosef, which means Vehem kol shivim nefesh yotzei yirecho. Everyone will bow to Yosef. All the 70 people who eventually come to Mitzrayim. How do you know that they all bow to Yosef? So, do we find it anywhere? Not really. We find the brothers bow to him. We find that Yaakov bows to him. But the Ramban conjectures that when they all came down to Mitzrayim, the whole multitude of 70 people of the descendants of Yaakov, the whole tribe of Yaakov, they must have all bowed to Yosef. They must have all had some kind of reception where they all bowed to Yosef. Ki kulam ishtachavu b'vo milav. They all bowed to Yosef when they came to him. So that's a conjecture, but that's what the Ramban says. The moon is the offshoot of the sun, or revolves around the sun, but the moon itself looks like it has moonlets that come from the moon.
Why the stars?
So why the stars? The stars are actually the brothers. Let's go ahead and read. Let's keep going.
Okay.
And the 11 stars, these are the 11 brothers who bow to Yosef before everybody else comes. When they find out, when they come down there and the viceroy is Yosef, the 11 brothers bow the second time around. When they bring Binyamin, they all bow to Yosef. So the 11 stars, because the stars don't really revolve around the sun. What we know about our solar system and about the constellations and about the entire universe. So I understand the moon can represent something that comes from the sun because it goes around the sun. It has an orbit around the sun. But all the other stars, whether they're 11 or others, are representing something that's completely separate from the solar system going around us. And that represents a different bowing, which is when the 11 brothers come on their own, including Binyamin, to bow to Yosef.
So in essence, the brothers are in that dream twice.
Twice, right. and so is Yaakov, because Yaakov is part of the 70 people, right? Everybody gets another. Everybody who's mentioned by individual, the sun and the stars get a double bow. Okay.
The stars are not stars. I thought the stars were planets.
No, Kochavim are stars.
I know that was the means, but
We
to
don't.
the planets.
First of all, they didn't. There were no 11 planets. There aren't even 11 planets today, and they never saw 11 planets then.
That's what this counted.
There weren't even 9
But it's
planets.
close enough.
There were 7 planets that people knew. They did not know about. They did not know about Uranus and Pluto. I'm not even sure if they knew about Neptune. They knew about Jupiter and Saturn. You can see Jupiter and Saturn in the sky at certain points. And they knew about Mercury and Venus. They knew about Mars.
So how does it mean? 11.
So the 11s are.
More than 11. Stars, you can see many more.
Well, but they also knew the difference between stars and between planets. Yes, they knew them because the stars don't move as quickly as the planets do. Planets move much quicker because they're much closer. So you can see if you and I don't watch the sky all night, but if you were a shepherd and you watch the sky all night, you could see the stars are going to rotate very slowly. The stars, they don't rotate. The stars move slowly across the sky. The planets move much quicker. Because the Earth is moving around and the planets are much closer to the Earth than the stars, which are light years away. And that's clear to them and it's clear to us. So they all understood it would not be called Kochavim. Kochavim actually means stars. It seems to be stars. Okay? They are 11 stars. The 11 stars. Yeah, the 11 stars are bowing down to the sun, to Yosef. In the second dream, the only person who's there as a human being is Yosef. In the first dream, sheaves are bowing to sheaf. Right? Grain is bowing to grain. In the second dream, it's really alapanim. It's really in their face. Right? That they see that they're bowing to Yosef. And the 11 brothers can't miss that the 11 stars are 11 brothers. Everybody gets it. The key of the Ramban is that, guess what? They were there separately. The 11 stars bowed separately to Yosef before the other 70 people came down. Before Yaakov comes down. Then Yaakov comes, at the end of his life, he bows to Yosef. So, as it says, the second time that they come down in chapter 43, Vayavo Yosef habayta, vayavir lo et hamenchar shebiyadam habayta, vishtach lo apayim arsa. The second time they come down, they prepare food, and they're preparing the food until the mincha, until the afternoon, and then they bow down to him twice to the ground. So the actual dream is carried out. Now, so therefore, this is the Ramban's interpretation of the dream. What's interesting is if later on in the Ramban in chapter 42, Pasuk 9, where the Ramban talks about the actual dreams coming true. So the Ramban seems to say that, well, let me back up. According to the Ramban, therefore, what do we have? You have, according to the Ramban, that the moon is Yaakov. The moon is Yaakov, which happens the last one, the last bowing. The sun is Yaakov. The moon is everybody bowing down to him, and the 7 stars are the 7 brothers who bowed down earlier to Yosef before everybody else comes down. Which means the 7 stars are bowing to Yosef. The 11 stars are bowing to Yosef when no one else is there. This is before Yaakov comes down, right? In the end of Sefer Bereshis, when the Ramban recounts this dream, the Ramban says, you see the dreams are coming true. This is when they do come down the second time with brother Binyamin, and the Ramban goes through it in chapter 42. The Ramban seems to follow more of the interpretation of Rashi, that the 11, that everybody is all bowing down together. In other words, when does everybody bow down? When Yaakov comes down, Yaakov bows down together with Bilhah, together with the 11 brothers. They're all bowing down together. The 11 stars do not refer to as bowing before Yaakov, but bowing when Yaakov comes down. In other words, they're all bowing together, which is what Rashi says here. The advantage of Rashi's pshat And what the Ramban says at the end of Bereishis is that everybody's bowing together at the same time. According to what the Ramban here said, they're bowing at different times. That's not what the dream says, right? The weakness in what Rashi says here is that Bilhah may not be alive, so the dream doesn't really happen. Who is it? Who is this mystery moon? But it looks like everybody's bowing down to Yosef at one time. According to the Ramban's interpretation, the 11 brothers bow down first, and then later on, the moon, which represents everybody, and Yaakov, with the sun, are going to bow down later on. There are two separate events. So the Ramban at the end of Sefer Bereishis seems to backtrack on what he says here. He gives the pshat of Rashi. And one of the suggestions is on the commentaries on the Ramban is this is another example of where the Ramban actually made late additions into his commentary. We had one last week, you were not here, when the Ramban talks about the length of distance that goes from Kever Rachel to Beit Lechem. Anybody remember that? Who was here last week? And the Ramban says, now that I came to Israel, I see how close it is. So we know that's a late addition. This change where this seems to contradict what he says. The end of Bereishis, it's possible the end of Bereishis is where there were changes. And there's some hints on that. Some of the manuscripts where some of this may have been additional, like added into a manuscript. The thing may come from the Ramban or close to the time of the Ramban. So that's just the first Ramban. But there are two ways to interpret what the dream is. Okay. Now, second Ramban. Second Ramban is actually a very fascinating Ramban.
But the dream is real, and it's a nevuah.
Yeah, that's right.
Where the Ramban's coming from.
Everybody comes to the fact that the dream is real. Everybody comes from the fact that the dreams sets the stage for what must take place. And here's why this is important. This is why Yosef is adamant about having the Binyamin come then be brought down. Right, the first time the brothers come, and Yosef says, "Where's your other brother?" Right, and they say, "Well, he's not here. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know what happened to him, where he is." And Yosef says, "No, you got to come back a second time and bring him." They don't want to bring him, and they have to bring him. Why is Yosef adamant about this? Oh, because he loves his brother. It's his real brother. It's the real son from Rachel. It's the one who never was against him. That's what we always say. Not true. The real reason Yosef wants him to come down, he wants the dreams to be carried out. He doesn't yet ask for the father, because if the father comes without Binyamin, the dream is not fulfilled. So Yosef is careful. He doesn't ask for his mother, right? Because according to Ramban, it's not going to be his mother. He doesn't ask for the rest of the people. But the whole point of the story is that the dreams that Joseph had are a form of nevuah. In the same way that the dreams that the baker and the butler of Paro, are meant to be a nevuah for Yosef to interpret. That there's a validity to a dream. So if you have a dream, somehow if you have a dream, there may be some kind of truth within the dream itself. Okay?
Okay.
Anybody know the story about the dream of the person, the engineer at CN who helped build the new Erev?
Oh, such a beautiful story.
Right. This is when they were trying to build the new Erev. The Erev we have. It used to be an old Erev built by Rav Grobart, later by Rav Price. And they wanted to redo the Erev, which is the present Erev we have. They had a lot of trouble with CN because they wanted to use the CN tracks, which run up north on Thornhill, as one of the boundaries. And there were a number of breaks. They were banging their heads against the wall until they found this. I don't remember what his position was. I think his name was Ackman or something like that. Was this fellow was Jewish who became a senior manager for CN, and once they found him, he was actually able to help and clear all the hurdles for them. And his sons asked him, why did you do this? And he said he had a dream that his grandfather appeared to him and told him his purpose in life was to help the Jews. Make the Erev, which is to help the Jewish people. And the end of the story was, after the Erev was finished, and they wanted to make a celebration, like a dedication or something, they went looking for him to invite him. They find he passed away. He died at the age of 50, at a very young age, very shortly after he finished helping him build the Erev. Okay, so there you go. So sometimes dreams have a whole lot of things significance. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to teach you now this Ramban. This is a Ramban that actually deals with some Kabbalah. It deals with something very fascinating, but you have to know the story and appreciate the story. The story is a sidebar story in the Yosef story. It's in chapter 38. So today I'm not going to teach you about the selling of Yosef and what happens. I'm going to tell you what happens after they sell Yosef. So after they sell Yosef in chapter 38, which page is it on here? Chapter 38. 208. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so Yosef is sold. They tell father Jacob that Yosef is gone. He mourns for him. They sell Yosef down to Potiphar, and then the narrative takes a break. And here's the break about Yehuda. So it happened at that time. Yehuda moves away. He goes to lives with an Ish Adulami, whose name is Chira. He sees an Ish Kanani, and his name is Shua. He sees a daughter of an Ish Kanani called Shua. He marries her. He has relations with her, and he has a son. He calls the son Er. He has another son. He calls the second son Onan. And he has a third son, and she calls the third son Shelah. Okay, why she calls the son? He calls it's not clear. Now, if he calls the son, we'll have to leave for a different time. And then what happens? Yehuda takes a wife to Er. Er is the firstborn, and her name is Tamar. Er b'chor Yehuda is bad, was Ra, says the pasuk Zayin, and he dies. God kills him. Yehuda then says to Onan, "You take your brother's wife, who's a widow, and v'yabei mosa, and do yibum to her, levirate marriage to her, and v'hakim zer liachicha, and you will raise children for your brother." And Onan knew kilo lo yazara, that the children will not be his. He actually he does coitus interruptus. That he should not make her impregnated. And what happens? And God kills the second brother, which is Onan. And that leaves one child remaining, which is Shelah, the third son. And Yehuda does not want to give the Tamar to Shelah. He's afraid that he'll die as well. So what's going on here? Why does Onan not want to impregnate Tamar? Why is it so important that Onan take Tamar? And what is going on in these kinds of words here when it says in verse number 8, Vayomer Yehuda liOnan, Yehuda says to Onan, the second son, Bo leishes achicha, come to your brother's wife, v'yabei mosa, and enter into levirate marriage with her, v'hakim zera liachicha, and you will bring children to your brother. The brother is dead. And what did Onan? He didn't want to do this because he knew that he will not to give zera to his son, not to give zera to his brother. And what is really Yibum all about? What do we have in Judaism? We have the same kind of concept in generalities, which is that when a couple marry and they have no children, and the brother and the husband dies, and that leaves the widow childless, they never were any children. There's an obligation upon the brother's widow, the deceased brother's brother, to take the widow as a form of yibum, to marry her, and if not, to reject her with chalitza. A chalitza is a rejection ceremony. If anyone has ever seen a chalitza, she wears a special shoe, he unwraps the shoe, she spits in front of him, she says, you didn't want to build your brother's house, and they call the place Beit Chalitza. What is this all about? What's really going on here? And in fact, in a very large way, this is not exactly brother's wife. The story with Boaz and Naomi. What's the story with Boaz and Naomi? So the Boaz and Ruth, I should say. Naomi is married to Machlon and the brothers die, and they come back. Ruth and Naomi come back to Israel, come back to Judea, and then she meets Boaz, and Boaz actually marries her in order to marry her and to redeem the field. And the other relative does not want to do so. This is not a brother, but it seems to be that relatives as well, who are permitted to marry, took some kind of responsibility. And when the baby is born, that issues from the union of Boaz and Ruth, Naomi cradles the baby, and what do the other women say? Yulad lach bein leNaomi. Naomi has born a child. So what's going on here? What is the special magic here of Yibum? So Ramban presents here a sod. Okay, and the sod is not that difficult. You can't understand it, but the Ramban says, and here's where you hold on to the edge of your seat, that Yibum was about transferring the soul of the deceased brother into the child that would be born. Okay, which is really what makes sense, right? But it's really a form of Gilgul Neshamos. It's a transmigration, a transforming of the soul that deceased to bring it back to keep it within the family. It's going to be a new child, but the child will have the soul who's returning as the deceased brother who died. as the deceased father of the child not the father, but the deceased brother who died. So the Ramban says it very clearly. So this is the unusual Ramban. If you ever want to see a Ramban that talks about Gilgul Neshamos and where it comes from, if you want to see a source, this Ramban actually says it pretty clearly. So we're going to look at the Ramban in chapter 38, verse number 8. Once again, it's a sidebar to the story of Yosef. It's not going to help us with the Yosef story, but I think it's a fascinating piece about understanding what Gilgul Neshama is. The Ramban goes through the whole idea of what Yibum really is. So, and what Gilgul Nefesh really means. That the dead brother's soul is going to be misgalgel to the young baby that's born, which means that the soul is not going to be let go free, or not cut loose. And which means what? When this happens, now we understand why Onan does not want to marry his deceased brother's wife. Hilo lo yazar, it's not going to be his child. Who's it going to be? It's going to be his brother. The child that right, he knows it's not going to be his. It's going to be his brother. And now you understand why when Naomi gets excited when Ruth has a child from Boaz, because even though it's not a dead brother, it's another relative, it's bringing back Machlon or Kilyam, bringing back the dead deceased husband of Ruth, which is the son of Naomi. And then you understand why the Torah really goes to great lengths to talk about Yibum and rejection, which is called Chalitza, where this really comes from. Now, there is some kind of transformation. In the Torah law, it's only a brother. It looks like in the early laws, or in the days of Naomi as well, and Ruth, it may have also been extended to other people in a form of an extension of Yibum. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Right, a brother has to do it either Yibum or Chalitza, but the concept of redeeming the soul and bringing the soul back is going to really be applicable to relatives that are close as well. And it may have existed in this time as well. So this is a fascinating Ramban. You'll see this no place else.
So why didn't Onan want his brother?
Why didn't? Because he wanted to raise his own family. So why did he not want to?
I think his brother.
So I think the Ramban actually refers to it. I think the Ramban says, why does he not want to take his brother? Let me wait till I do the Ramban and see if it comes up, okay? It's a bit of a complicated Ramban, but I think we can do it. So it's Pasuk Ched. So Yehuda says to Onan, you take your brother's wife, and v'yabemota, enter into levirate marriage, v'alkem zera le'achicha, and you'll have children for your brother's son. Okay. Okay. 38:8. Katuv Rashi, haben yikra Shem Amei. So Rashi says, what's going on here? Yehuda wanted the child that's born to be called by the name of the dead brother, which was, what was the brother's name? Er. So that's what it means. Rashi doesn't talk about this Gilgul. Rashi doesn't talk about Yibum. He says, really, no. What you're going to have? You're going to have Er Junior. V'ein ze'emet. Ramban says it's not really true. Ki mitzvah Torah nemar gam kein. Mitzvah Torah nemar gam kein. Because we have this for the same kind of terminology. When the Torah tells us the mitzvah of Yibum, which is in Devarim chapter 38, v'haya b'char she'tilei yakum Hashem achiv amet, that the child that will be born will be called by the name of the deceased brothers. V'lo yimachesh shmo Yisrael, his name will not be eradicated. And we know v'ein hayavom mitzvah l'krot shem b'no b'kshem achiv amet. And when the Yibum is done, the live brother takes the widow of the deceased brother, the child is not called the same name. And in fact, I'll prove, we don't do it today, says the Ramban, we never did it, and I'll prove to you it wasn't done. Sha'arei Eitzel Boaz Ne'amar, the same terminology comes, exactly the same terminology about calling the same name in the end of Sefer Ruth when Boaz takes Ruth, and it says, quote, V'gamed Ruth Hamoviyah Ishut Machlon Koniti Li Lisha, that I am going to marry Ruth, I'm going to acquire her as a wife. Lakim Shem Hamet Anachalato. I'm going to call the name of the deceased on his estate. V'loi Karei Shem Hames Miyam Mechav. The name of the deceased will not be lost from his brothers. Umishar Mekamo, and from the gate of a city. And what is the name of the child that's born from the union of Ruth and Boaz? It's not called Machlon, who is the deceased husband of Ruth. It's rather Vatikvena Shmo Oved. V'lo Kol Machlon. Didn't call him Machlon. Okay, not kol machal. Now that's the kasha on Rashi. Okay, by the way, there's a. I'm sorry. It's actually Oved, yes. And then Oved has someone, and then someone has Yisha, and then Yisha has David.
Right.
Peretz.
Who's Peretz?
Peretz is the predecessor. Peretz is the story here of Tamar. Peretz is the relationship that okay. So actually, the Mizrahi, which is a super commentary on Rashi, says, to try to explain Rashi's answer to the Ramban's question.
He should have known.
He should have known, right? So he says, you know what? Initially, they did call the child the same name, but when this primitive law, this precursor law, changes in the time of Matan Torah to become the law of Yibum as we know it, you no longer have to call the child a name. But in this day, or it doesn't really explain to us about Naomi, but it explains to us here that in the days of Yehuda and Tamar and Shelah and Onan and Er, they would call the child that was born, the same name as the deceased brother. So that's one question, Ramban. Second question, V'yod kasha. Hareina mar v'yeda Onan k'lo lo yazora. Onan knew that the child would not be his child. What would be so bad if they called the kid that would be born by the name of Er? What's the big deal? But it's so much so that he engaged in coitus interruptus and he did not impregnate her. What's so bad? What would be so bad about calling a child by the name of a deceased brother? Most people would like this. And in fact, even more so, it doesn't say that Onan said this, it says Elavayeda Onan. Onan knew for sure that the child would not be his. Klomar, he knew that the child would not be his child. So there's more going on here, says the Ramban, than what Rashi is trying to tell us. And here it is. This is one of the deep Kabbalistic secrets, from the deep Kabbalistic secrets of the Torah in the involvement of human, or the development of human beings. And anyone who can understand the roots of the soul and has the eyes and the ears, this an ability to go into this, you can actually have an understanding of what's going on. What the Ramban actually says is we find the sefer called Rikanti, which is Sefer in Kabbalah, and he quotes in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak HaChassid, not Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, Rabbi Yitzchak, who was the son of the Ravid. And this individual, Rabbi Yitzchak, the son of the Ravid, actually was blind. So it makes it even more fantastic. So he could, when he saw a person, we couldn't see a person, he could tell if that person had a new soul or was simply a gilgul of old neshama. He had this ability because he was a great Kabbalist and knew his secrets, and he could discern this, even though you and I could not discern this, and even though he was hard of sight to begin with. So this is the Gilgul Nefesh that we're talking. I'm sorry?
I heard a story, Mamish, the same.
Is that about Gilgul?
About being able to see. And one time he had to go somewhere, so he appointed the Yid Kodesh to replace him in answering shilas, and he gave him his eyes.
Gave him his eyes.
Wow,
okay.
Heavy stuff.
All right, okay. So in other words, what the Ramban is saying, and this is explained in the Sefer Rakanti, what the Ramban is saying here, that neshama of the person who died, in this case Er, is now going to be transferred through Yibum. The baby will now have the soul of air in the body of a child. Okay, that's what's coming back here. And this you'll understand what it means. Vayeda Onan kilo lo yazora. He knew it was going to be his child because he knew that it's going to be the soul of his brother was now going to come with Gilgul Nefesh into his son. And now why didn't he do it? Okay, so why didn't he do it here? It's in the footnote here that I have. It's quoting from Sefer Mir Sinaim, you don't have this. That the neshama that's coming back to a Gilgul Nefesh has to go through a lot of yisurim, a lot of travail, a lot of difficulty because of the previous Gilgul that it has. Usually if you study about Gilgul Neshamos, these are souls that come back, they have to finish up things that never got done, never got finished up. So apparently like unfinished business, unfinished issues, unfinished problems that have to be cleared up. So when the neshama comes back, the Balei Kabbalah say there can be a lot of difficulty, spiritual difficulty for the neshama, because it has a mission to do to clean things up that didn't get cleaned up the last time. So therefore they suggest this is what's going on in Onan's mind. He doesn't want to bring back his brother through a Gilgul Neshama, because that means that Neshama has to clean up all the problems it had before. And what do we know about the first son? Why does the first son die? We don't told, but it says he died because he did hara. He was evil. So if he comes back a second time, what's the mission of coming back a second time? To undo all the evil. That's a tremendous heavy burden. So he did not want to burden his brother's soul to come back a second time in the body of a child, to have to go through this as a mission in his life. Okay? That's it. This is a Kabbalistic Ramban, I told you. Okay? So, but it's once you know this, you'll understand Ramban. Sometimes it's hard to do Rambans that are Kabbalistic because you can't make sense of them. But this, if you understand, if you accept Gilgul Nefesh, then this makes sense. So, right. So it's going to be for those who can see and those who can hear. And therefore, the people who lived before the days of the Torah. So let me read that again. I'm going to go back to and the people who lived even before the days of the Torah. This is where the Ramban actually goes out on a limb. How do they know this? They had a tradition that there was this great thing that could happen through Yibum Ha'ach, and when he would raise the child, he would allow the brother now to come back to do what he was, and it was his to do. Who had the first crack at this? The brother. He did the best. His impregnating the widow had the best way of doing, I guess, the straightest way of doing Gilgul Nefesh. If he didn't do it, if he couldn't do it, then actually other people who were members of the family would do it. Because anyone who was a karov of the family, that they would inherit that had a chance to inherit that estate, could have an opportunity to keep the soul within the family, to bring the soul back on a Gilgul Nefesh, on a second travel into this world, to retain its estate and come back again. So in other words, it was the brother first, and if not the brother, if the brother couldn't do it, then anyone else could do it as well. Okay? In our case, when Onan doesn't do it, so then Yehuda wants the next brother Shelah to do it. In the case of Ruth, there is no other brother. Machlon and Kilyon both died, both sons of Nami. So who is there? There is a person, Boaz, who is a relative, who actually has some kind of stake in the estate because he redeems the estate which was sold. So he is already a person who can do some kind of pseudo yibum, not the mitzvah of yibum, but he has the ability to do this Gilgul Nefesh. Okay. The Hayu Nagim Lisa Eshet Hameis Ha'ach or Ha'av or Krova Memishpacha. And who would do this? Who could actually do this besides the brother? So first of all, before Matan Torah, the brother of the mace could do it, or the father of the deceased could do it, or Karov Mishpacha Acher Hayanosei Deishes Hameis, or another relative could do it. Now, why does Ramban say the father could do it? The father of the deceased brother. The father of the deceased brother could do it. The deceased brother dies, so who should do it is his brother. Before Matan Torah, before this became a Torah law, the Ramban is suggesting anyone could do it, including the father. Why does Ramban say this? Because what happened in the story with Tamar and Yehuda? Who actually sleeps with Tamar? In the end, Yehuda sleeps with her. Right? And they give birth to twins, and he says, take her out to be burned. She was a harlot and so forth. But you see that Yehuda, somehow there's a whole plan of God that this can be done. This is not the mitzvah of Yibum. Because according to Yibum, a father cannot marry the deceased daughter-in-law, the daughter of the deceased son. It's an arayos, it's a prohibited relationship. But in those days it was okay. We don't really know for sure if this original old minhag existed before Yehuda. before Yehuda came along. We see from the case of the story of Yehuda that it existed then. Ubebreshis Rabbah, in the Medrash Breshis Rabbah, it says, Amar Amru ki Yehuda atchil mitzvah Yibum tchila. Yehuda was the first one to carry out the mitzvah of Yibum, and not exactly the mitzvah, but the process of mitzvah. Ki kasher kibel asod me'avotav nizdarei la kimotah. Because when he understood the secret, the Kabbalistic secret of bringing back the deceased brother, which in this case was his son, he went to carry it out, and that's why he marries in the end. He marries Tamar, and he keeps that relationship. It looks like because Torah, and when the Torah came along, and the Torah kind of tweaks certain primitive laws that existed, it makes some things prohibited. The aswa eshet ksat isur, the aswa eshet ksat have krovim, and the Torah gave us a list of a number of prohibited relationships, prohibited incestuous relationships with the wife of many of our krovim, of our relatives. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed the brother to do the mitzvah because of Yibum. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not want to allow all the other prohibited relationships. In other words, the only time that a brother can marry the widow is if his brother dies childless. If the brother died with children, even if the brothers died, they're not allowed to marry. So that's the only one that breaks the rule, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu understood, we all understand that this is about Gilgul Nefesh, there should be a way to do it. But the other relationships stay also. Because it brings a closer relationship, it's a better way to do Gilgul Nefesh, to have the brother do it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the brother will be allowed to do it.
If he has children, then there's no need for a Gilgul?
So if he has children, then he does not get the opportunity to do Gilgul. That's right. Why not? I don't know. A lot of things about Gilgul I don't understand. Right? Everybody should have a Gilgul. Like we should be concerned about it. But by the way, it does mean. Here's what it means. It means that if the Yibum does not do it, it's the flip side of the question. Is more difficult. If the brother does not do it, okay. What's going on here? It's not good. If the brother does not do it, that means that basically the soul has been cut loose. Wandering around, never gets a chance to come back a second time. Okay? That's what it really means. That's even more serious. I'm sorry?
It comes back through Neshama V'ger.
Back will come the Neshama V'ger. Could be wandering around with no way to return. Moshe Skarti.
But there are other bodies that Neshama could go into.
Okay. There could be other bodies, and eventually we'll find a body to go into, yes. Okay. Let's see, you guys look quiet. And therefore it becomes a great wickedness of the son, of the brother who doesn't want to do Yibum. And they call this Beit Chalutzanal. They call this the house of where they took the shoe off. Rabbi. Chevra. Bakasha. Thank you. Because now he's been unraveled. He's been unraveled together. In other words, he can never get back into this family. They've cut him off. And that's why they do this specifically with the shoe, because it shows that he's completely without any kind of support. So now you understand why it's the brother. You now understand why it's so difficult. Chalitza is considered the bad alternative, and it's done through Chalitza Tanal. Because, and I don't really have a reason for that. Apparently, the Rikandi says there's some more intensive reasons in Kabbalah for this. Focus a little more, guys. And the great scholars of the Jews write a lot about this. Okay. Thank you. They did this with all the different krovim In other words, they allow this to happen even with people who are not the brother, as long as there's no prohibited relationship, such as Boaz. Botam shelo yeh bahem isur hasher. There was no prohibited erva, prohibited incestuous relationship. V'karu oto geula, and they called this geula. This is what they call the goal. I'm going to redeem. Why is it called geula? Because what are you redeeming? Not the inheritance. You're redeeming the soul. You're giving the soul a second chance. They're golim at nafshot hamet, which is going to be redeemed into another body. V'zeu inyan Boaz v'tam Naomi v'ashchinot. And this is really what happens with Boaz, who takes root. And that's why Boaz says, Lakim et shem hamet al nachalato. He's bringing back the dead machlon into the new child. And this is the reason for Naomi and the shchinot, and what the Ramban is really referring to. When the baby is born, Naomi takes the child, but the shisei b'cheika, she puts it in her bosom. Why? Because it has the soul of her dead son. And this is why the shchenot, the neighbors say to Naomi, Yulad bein la Naomi, a child has been born to Naomi. A child is not born to Naomi, a child is born to Ruth and Boaz. Right? Naomi is not related to Ruth. Ruth is simply a daughter-in-law, and Boaz is a distant relationship. But the child that is born is a son to Naomi, because really it was the son of Naomi. Who is the son of Naomi? Machlon, who dies, whose soul now comes back for a second chance for life. Which eventually goes into, of course, David HaMelech becomes the descendant of this Gilgal Nefesh. So this is this unbelievable kind of Ramban, and I don't know how you have to take it away with a takeaway about Gilgal Nefesh. Lots of questions about Gilgal Nefesh, lots of points. But the point of it all is really, when a soul comes back a second time, it does have additional things that it needs to take care of that it didn't do the first time around. Okay, all kinds of questions. Not going to go there. Can a person come back as an animal? Can an animal come back as a person? All very complicated kinds of things. But the Ramban says this is the real reason of what's going on here with Yehuda, and why Onan didn't want to marry, who didn't want to take Tamar, and why Yehuda does take Tamar, and why Naomi is so concerned about finding someone to marry Ruth, and Ruth marries Naomi and takes care of the things. And we'll take
we hold that can come up back in an animal.
Maybe.
Yeah, animals don't have nefesh.